Welcome to the Quantanix YouTube channel. This is the Next Layer podcast, episode 8.
Great to be here.
Today we're diving deep into something that's, well, fundamentally shifting how we live and even think. Digital dependency. We're looking at how tech has changed our behavior, right down to the neuroscience and psychology of it all.
That's right. And for this deep dive, we've sifted through quite a bit of research, looking at how this increasing connection to technology, well, it impacts our brains and, of course, our actions.
Yeah, and our mission today is really to pull out the most important insights. How is this digital reliance actually shaping us? We want to give you a clear path to understanding this pretty complex issue without, drowning in details.
Exactly, a shortcut to the key stuff.
Okay, so where do we even begin to unpack how tech has gotten so, well, sticky, so integrated?
I think a good starting point is probably looking at how technology's role has evolved over time.
Okay.
Think about it. Things we once saw as maybe futuristic conveniences or just handy tools are now just deeply woven into our daily lives.
Absolutely. Like voice commands, hey Google, hey Siri. I mean, not that long ago that was pure science fiction, right?
Totally.
And now it's just normal background noise almost.
Well,
it really shows how tech went from being like an optional extra to something that feels essential.
And what's really fascinating, I think, is how this shift has kind of restructured our interactions across whole domains.
So?
Well, take e-commerce. It hasn't just changed how we shop, it's altered the social side of marketplaces, even the basics of economic exchange and digital communication. Well, it's become the default for so many of us, hasn't it? It reshapes how we connect, how we maintain relationships, sometimes maybe at the expense of actual face-to-face time.
Yeah, that's definitely something I've noticed.
And businesses, well, they see this shift, and they've basically embedded technology systemically, right into their operations.
It's like these digital tools are now the fundamental infrastructure for so much of what we do. And it's definitely changed our priorities, hasn't it? Which is where it gets really interesting.
It really has. Just think about how we experience moments now. There's often this really strong impulse to, well, document everything first.
Oh, yeah. Taking photos of your food before you even take a bite.
Exactly. Or focusing so much on getting the perfect social media shot when you're traveling. Maybe more than actually just being there in the moment.
It's almost like the online validation, the sharing of the experience has become as important or maybe even more important than the experience itself sometimes.
That's a really good way to put it. This drive for digital validation, for sharing, it's a powerful motivator now.
Right.
And if you step back, look at the bigger picture, you can maybe see a potential weakening of those traditional in-person social bonds.
How so?
Well, digital communication is convenient, no doubt. But when it becomes totally dominant, those vital face-to-face interactions can get, pushed aside a bit.
Like at family gatherings or out with friends, everyone's half distracted by their phones.
Yeah, exactly. Those real-world events now have to compete for our attention with the constant pinging and the allure of our digital worlds.
So it's not just how we connect, but maybe the quality, the depth of those connections that might be changing. And this isn't just surface level stuff, is it? It sounds like it's having a real impact deep down on our brains.
The crucial point, yeah. Digital dependency seems to have measurable effects on our neurobiology in ways that are actually quite similar to other forms of behavioral addiction.
Really, like actual physical changes?
Yeah, research is showing actual changes in brain structure and also how our brains function, linked to problematic internet use.
Okay, can you give us some specifics? What kind of changes are we talking about?
Sure. So studies have observed, for instance, a decrease in gray matter density.
Gray matter. That's the thinking part, right?
Sort of, yeah. In key areas like the prefrontal cortex and the orbitofrontal cortex. Think of these as the brain's kind of executive control center, planning, decision-making, impulse control. And we're also seeing, well, abnormal activity in the brain's reward pathways, the areas that light up when we feel pleasure.
Okay.
Plus, increased glucose metabolism, basically. More energy use in areas linked to impulsivity and reward dependence. It's like those reward circuits are being overstimulated, maybe even rewired.
Wow. That sounds very similar to what you hear about with substance addictions.
The parallels are definitely significant. And adolescents, teenagers seem particularly susceptible.
Why is that?
Well, during the teenage years, The limbic system, which is all about emotions, rewards, that sort of thing, it develops faster than the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for that higher level control, the brakes.
Ah, okay.
So you get this kind of natural imbalance, which makes teens more vulnerable to the addictive pull of digital tech because their inhibitory control, their brakes, aren't fully developed yet.
So their ability to resist those digital urges just isn't as strong?
Precisely. What's more, this dependency seems to disrupt important neurotransmitter systems, things like dopamine.
The feel-good chemical.
Yeah, often called that. Crucial for reward. Also, serotonin, which impacts mood, and even our natural opioids. These are all vital for how we process rewards, control impulses, form habits.
Okay.
And when you look at meta-analyses, studies that combine lots of research, they consistently show that people with problematic internet use tend to have difficulties with inhibitory control, with making good decisions, even with working memory, like holding things in mind short term. We're even seeing biological markers like an increase in dopamine being released, but also a decrease in the number of dopamine receptors available in a part of the brain called the striatum. That specific pattern is strongly linked to addictive behaviors generally.
Wow. So it really isn't just about willpower, is it? There are actual biological shifts happening.
It seems that way, yes.
So, okay, beyond the brain changes, what about the psychological, the social impacts?
Well, they're also really significant. For example, there's a well-established link between excessive social media use and increased feelings of anxiety and depression, especially in teens and young adults.
Right, the comparison trap.
Exactly. Social comparison is a huge part of it.
Yeah.
You're constantly seeing these curated, often unrealistic highlight reels of other people's lives.
And feeling like your own life doesn't measure up.
And that constant need for online validation, for likes and comments, that also really plays into these negative feelings. It can become a major driver.
It's like living for the approval of the feed.
In a way, yes. And then there's the impact on attention, the constant stream of digital content, the multitasking habit. It seems to be taking a toll on our ability to focus deeply.
You mean like making us less able to concentrate?
Yeah, diminishing our focus. Some research even suggests this could lead to lasting changes in our cognitive style, making it harder to concentrate even when we're offline. Plus, the fast pace of a lot of digital media might contribute to restlessness, maybe even hyperactivity, especially noticeable in children.
So we're kind of more connected digitally, but maybe less connected meaningfully?
That's the paradox, isn't it?
Yeah.
Technology offers countless ways to connect, but if virtual interactions consistently replace face-to-face communication,
They can actually lead to more isolation.
potentially yes.
Oh.
Because digital chat often lacks those nonverbal cues. Facial expressions, body language, tone of voice, those are so important for developing nuanced social skills and maintaining really deep relationships.
Yeah, you lose so much context online.
Definitely. And another interesting point, our increasing reliance on devices to store information, like phone numbers or facts, might even be subtly weakening our own memory retention skills.
It's like we're outsourcing our memory to our phone.
A little bit, yeah. It's an interesting area of research.
And it's not just our minds, right? You mentioned physical consequences, too.
Absolutely. Let's start with sleep. The blue light from screens. It messes with melatonin production.
Right, the sleep hormone.
Exactly. So that can lead to poor sleep quality, insomnia. Then there's the posture issue, hunching over devices.
Guilty as charged.
We probably all are. It leads to back pain, neck pain, potentially chronic musculoskeletal problems down the line. Plus, just the fact that more screen time often means more sitting time, less physical activity, that contributes to weight gain, muscle weakness,
Yeah.
the usual sedentary lifestyle issues.
Okay.
And maybe one of the most pervasive things is how it just disrupts our daily routines, wake-up times, sleep schedules, even meal timing, basic hygiene sometimes. It can all get thrown off balance by being constantly plugged in.
Man, it really does sound like this touches almost every part of our lives. Even the workplace isn't immune, right? I saw some mention of new tech there, too.
Yeah, that's a really interesting and maybe slightly concerning frontier. We're seeing things like digital monitoring tools, even EEG headsets being tested to detect stress levels in employees.
EEG headsets. Wow, that sounds intense.
It is. On one hand, the idea is maybe to improve employee well-being, catch burnout early. But on the other hand, there are huge ethical questions about privacy, surveillance, potential misuse.
It sounds like a real double-edged sword.
Exactly. If used ethically, maybe these brain monitoring technologies could genuinely help. But improper use could seriously undermine worker autonomy, increase stress.
Yeah, the potential for coercion or manipulation seems pretty high. if that neurodata gets used in performance reviews or something?
That's the worry. It raises really fundamental ethical questions about using this kind of deeply personal data in employment. There's this concept of relational autonomy being discussed. Basically, how do we ensure technology use respects individual freedom and relationships within the workplace context?
Okay, so lots of potential pitfalls there. But technology isn't all bad in this context, is it? Can it also be part of the solution?
Absolutely. And that's the hopeful side. Technology itself is powering what are called digital health interventions, or DHIs.
DHI.
Yeah, apps, websites, wearables.
Yeah.
Designed to help people manage health conditions or change behaviors, like quitting smoking or getting more exercise. And they can be quite effective.
What makes them work?
Well, research shows certain techniques really boost their effectiveness. Things like providing credible information, offering social support features, using prompts or reminders, helping people set goals and track progress, giving feedback, sometimes even virtual coaching. And personalization is key.
Tailoring it to the individual.
Exactly. The crucial thing is intentional design. These DHIs are built specifically to support positive behavior change, not necessarily to maximize engagement time like some other apps.
Okay, so the same tool technology can be used either to foster dependency or potentially help manage it or manage other health issues.
Precisely. And maybe some of those same behavior change techniques used in effective DHIs could even be applied to help people manage their digital dependency itself, using tech to fight tech's downsides, in a way.
That's an interesting thought. Okay, so let's bring it back to the individual listening. If someone recognizes some of these patterns, the sleep disruption, the distraction, the anxiety, and what are some concrete steps they can take to find a healthier balance?
Well, the first step, and it's a big one, is just self-awareness. Really recognizing the signs of problematic use in yourself.
Like what specifically?
Things like, sleep disruption. Maybe noticing you're neglecting relationships or responsibilities, feeling anxious, or really irritable if you're separated from your devices, finding it hard to concentrate on tasks.
Okay, so notice the signs. Then what?
Then implement some concrete boundaries. This could look different for everyone, but maybe establishing tech-free zones or times like no phones in the bedroom or during meals, or being much more selective about which app notifications you allow to interrupt you. Maybe even scheduling regular digital detox periods a day, a weekend, whatever works, where you intentionally disconnect.
Taking a break.
Yeah. And really importantly, actively prioritize alternative activities. Things that get you moving physically, involve face-to-face social interaction, or get you out into nature. Replace the screen time with something else fulfilling.
Those all sound like good practical steps. What about the bigger picture, beyond just individual actions?
Yeah, tackling this really needs broader responses too, from institutions and society.
Like schools.
Definitely. Educational settings have a huge role, teaching not just how to use tech, but digital literacy, how to critically evaluate online information, understand algorithms, develop a healthy relationship with tech.
And workplaces.
Workplaces too, creating policies that genuinely acknowledge the need for digital disconnection, that respect employees' time and boundaries outside of work hours, not fostering an always-on culture.
Right.
And just generally promoting media literacy for everyone is vital. Helping people understand how online content works, how platforms are designed to maximize engagement so you can navigate it more consciously.
So it really is a multi-level thing, individual awareness and action, but also changes in schools, workplaces, and how we talk about media literacy in general.
Exactly. Digital dependency, it's clearly a real phenomenon. It has these neurobiological underpinnings, psychological impacts, social consequences, physical effects. It mirrors aspects of traditional addiction in many ways. Technology has profoundly reshaped our behaviors, our priorities. But understanding these impacts is the first step toward finding a healthier balance. And as we saw, tech can also be part of the solution through intentional design.
So to wrap up, the key takeaway seems to be that finding that balance requires this multifaceted approach, individual, institutional, societal.
Yeah, I think that sums it up well.
Okay, so a final thought for you listening. Maybe take a moment to consider which aspects of your own daily life are most influenced by digital technology, and then ask yourself, are those influences really lining up with your values, with your sense of well-being?
That's a really powerful question to reflect on.
Indeed. Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive into digital dependency.
My pleasure.
If you found this insightful, please do like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more deep dives on the Next Layer podcast at the Quantanix YouTube channel.